Hey everybody, Tony D with the final hot take of the evening. Oh, I had to go back into my office and relax for a few minutes after Joan's barking because it just rattles my brain. Something about the bark just scrambles me. And she's in the other room, so she won't be interrupting this video. The strangest news story hit the wire today. So we all think of Iran as this country that's uber religious, kind of second world, not as opposed to third world or first world. And there's a real sort of revolution happening there, of a kind, right? So there are people becoming Christian in Iran. Isn't that wild? Yeah. So and it all connects to the pandemic. The Iranian government did not handle the pandemic well, as you can imagine. And in fact, I read a news story a couple of months ago that said they were passing out what the government said were bottles of disinfectant, and it was actually bottles of air freshener. And they were burying bodies left and right over there. And it's very hot in Iran, so that's another whole issue. Maybe there's a virus strain there that's more heat resistant. It's possible. I don't know. But it did hit Iran very hard. And since the government is essentially a theocracy, I think people there associate the religion of Islam with government. And because of that, when the government makes mistakes, they also kind of associate it with Islam. And to some extent, I guess that's somewhat true because their government is run by religious figures ultimately. The mullahs actually run the show. So it kind of makes sense in a way that since their government has failed them, that they are seeking new religions. And so they have this sort of, there's a lot of people turning Christian all of a sudden there. It's crazy. Crazy. I never saw that coming. That's like, wow, man. That suddenly Christianity would explode in a Middle Eastern country like that. Weird. And at the same time, over in China, the Chinese government, and I thought, China being communist, there was virtually no religion there. Probably some, but virtually none. Well, apparently there's still some churches there. The Chinese government is now telling Chinese Christians to take down their religious what's the word? Iconography? It's probably not how you... iconography. That's how you pronounce it. So they're asking people to take down their crosses and pictures of Jesus and whatnot. And that's very strange too. It's all coming all at the same time. And at the same time in America, we have these Marxists attacking Jesus statue in Miami. Virgin Mary statues, I forget where they were. Guy drove into a church, tried to set it on fire with people in it. And so there's been, on the one hand, these attacks against Christianity, and then you look over in Iran and you see suddenly people are on board with the Jesus man. Who saw it coming? Very strange. Very strange indeed. So what does this mean? What does this mean for the rest of the world? Well, because I think the Iranian people are so deeply religious, this could potentially destabilize the government, especially if the response to the renewed interest in Christianity is met with sort of a heavy hand. That could really destabilize their government because everybody there is so deep. I mean, they hold such deep religious beliefs. I mean, you could see, I don't know, some kind of holy war erupt there, or some kind of civil holy war. with the government destabilizing because of the recent things, Trump killing that Iranian general and essentially putting the Iranians in a corner without starting a war. Got to give him that. It's not the way I would have done it, but it seems to have been a move that has worked. The Iranians have chilled the hell out and have sort of mind their manners, and now they're dealing with their own internal strifes now, besides the fact that they're still probably dealing with the beer virus. So, going forward, what I hope this means is that the United States will get out of the Middle East entirely, because without Iran as a motivator, Iraq is done, essentially. Even the neocons thought, we're done with Iraq, essentially. And so really, it's just a matter of getting out of Afghanistan and everywhere else. Without being in Afghanistan, the supply routes that we have that lead to Afghanistan, all the military bases in and around that region of the world, there'd kind of be no reason to keep them, right? You could kind of start closing them down as well and slowly back off the entire region and let it, do whatever it's going to do. Let the locals sort things out. Now, hopefully, some of the locals will still return our calls. But really, in that part of the world, it doesn't make any sense for us to have troops there unless, the only people it makes sense for is the defense industry, because they could sell tons of weapons and ammo and missiles, and you could shoot all the depleted uranium you want all day long, and we got to pay millions and millions of dollars for it. Not only that, it's all the supply lines. So that's where the real money is. Supplying the food and the uniforms and the places to sleep and eat, and the PX bases and the stores. I mean, there's billions of dollars at stake here. I mean, this is partly the reason, I think a lot of the reason why the Iraq War even started to begin with. It was all a money-making operation for the people in charge. And I think a lot of those people were connected to Dick Cheney. So this could be a very interesting development. This could be the start of a new Iran. One that either destabilizes to the point where hopefully a new regime emerges that's, maybe it'll be more open to people of different faiths. And the Iranians were fairly open to people of different faiths. I mean, there's a population of Jewish people in Iran, believe it or not. So maybe that could develop into a more secular nation simply by the fact that that would be the only pragmatic solution to the problem, right? They could look at the mullahs and say, are you guys, now we have this huge influx of Christianity. Does it make any sense that we're just ruled by one particular religion? What if we just passed all the responsibility on to the government and let them take care of it, and you guys take care of the religion? Maybe they would be open to that. But, people don't want to give up power so easily. But if you look at the course of history, sometimes you kind of have no choice. Sometimes there's so much corruption and infighting. And, if you look at the Roman emperors after a time, the Praetorian Guard was really running things. They were running the show because they protected the emperor at first, but then it was like, well, we're the Praetorian Guard. Without us, you're dead. So we're also going to make policy now, and you're going to listen to us or we won't protect you. In fact, we're going to kill you and install our own emperor who will listen to us. So it could be that kind of thing where maybe the mullahs have kind of worn out their welcome. The people need a change. And they have slowly been giving up a little bit, not a lot, but a little power to the government. And maybe they could see the advantages of just being purely a religious institution and not getting involved in the day-to-day, runnings of a country. but still probably having undue influence, but at least less of enough influence that the country could run more secularly, let's say. But interesting developments. I thought you should be aware.